told my boss, Wes, there may not be a lot, there's no food. I know it's a big draw. But we have humor going for us, so hopefully you'll laugh. But we're also going to be talking about something, pretty important, and how we're going to be doing emergency preparedness here in Bannock County. So right away, my name is Karen Trumbull. I am, like I said, I'm in the Chesapeake. We had to figure out where I was, but that's definitely me. I am an assistant to Wes Jones. He's our emergency director here in Bannock County. I do emergency preparedness in food. I'm a master food preserver, so I help people if they have canning questions, dehydrated questions. I'm not a master at freeze drying yet. I don't have my own, but my friend, she's been dehydrating my goat milk and my eggs and all this stuff. So, I've been doing emergency preparedness with CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, for over 20 years, plus I've been getting out on the peripherals of emergency preparedness, teaching around the community for many years. But I was over in Washington, and I came back here because, as I was telling Wes when we pulled up, this used to be the wet pack cannery, and my dad used to be a retort operator when I was a kid, and I used to be able to put down the cans. That was the only thing I could do because I was a teenager. But it was so fun, and I begged to go because in the summer, what do you do? And I did. So, so I'm from here. My grandparents, I'm a Hale from around here. If anybody knows DeLoss and Betty Hale, that was my aunt and uncle. DeLoss died in January 17, so that's my claim to fame, is I'm a Hale from here. And anyway, so I want to introduce Wes Jones. I'm going to have him introduce himself, and then we have a little presentation, and while before he even chats, we're going to get this started around. We have a sign-in sheet, and it's really if you want to know more about our local emergency preparedness committee, which he'll talk about more, if you have a radio license, or if you're interested in other volunteer activities. And we're also going to talk about emergency preparedness fairs a little bit later. So if you could just sign up and we'll pass it around. Wes, come and take it away.
Okay, hello. Well, it's nice to be here in front of everybody. I'm not a master food preserver. I'm a food consumer. And, as you can tell, I've mastered that activity. I've been doing emergency management for over centuries, it seems. So if you guys see a picture out there of me and Ben Franklin together, just realize that was actually photoshopped. He never had that much hair. One of the things that I strive to do is make sure you guys kind of have a better understanding of what our role actually is in emergency management, and how incidents are elevated and where they actually start. So in my household, I have 4 daughters. So when we talked about the definition of an emergency, if the hairdryer goes out, the curling iron goes out, the straightener goes, if all of those go out, I have an emergency on my hands. And the reason that I bring that up is that every single emergency that any one of you will encounter, it primarily starts with you. Whether you hear it over the radio waves or you hear it through alert sense notification, it's always going to start with you. Or it may be an incident that has occurred at your home, in your household. So depending upon that circumstance, you have that choice to take care of you immediately, or your spouse, or your husband, if you so deem necessary. I'll leave that up to you. But it all starts around the individual and then the immediate family. Then you want to start taking care of your extended family who doesn't reside with you, right? And then it goes a step further. That's where you start including the community, your immediate neighbors, or those groups that you're associated with. That's how emergencies all start, from a localized event, and then it's elevated. As it's elevated, it gives you the opportunity to pick up the phone and call a service organization to come in and help you. So you have localized flooding in your house, a pipe broke. You call those services when they come in to provide support and assistance. Or it's an electrician, you're having problems with electrical. Now if it's a broad scale community event, you're going to still call like Idaho Power, who provides that service if it's impacting several different homes. right? Does this make sense on how these things actually start and roll out? So once it gets to that point where several homes and families are impacted, Idaho Power, as a service provider, is then obligated to make notification and communication back to the elected officials, because it's a citywide incident. So what the city does is anything they possibly can within their power, if they have the resources, and they may not have the resources, or if that's not within their scope of activities, but it all still goes back to you as the homeowner. So when you talk about homeowners insurance, that type of stuff, if you've got that and a major disaster, FEMA won't be able to provide support and assistance until after your insurance kicks in. And that's contingent upon the fact if the government has those funds to actually do those things. So once it starts at your home, goes to your neighbor, those types of incidents, and they roll up to the city, who do you think the city calls next if they're overwhelmed with their resources and capabilities? So it comes into me as the emergency, from the Office of Emergency Management, so I can provide support and assistance as available, contingent upon the resources that I have. So what do I have in my toolkit? Depending upon what it is, I also work with all the utilities, the service providers, first response organizations, neighboring jurisdictions, public safety departments within the organization, locally, and then working out to the contiguous counties, as well as pushing it up to the state. So in order for Karen and I to be involved in the things that's going on, it has to go through that elevated process to get to where it needs to go. Okay? So if there's something that's elevated and we go with an emergency declaration, the decision to make that declaration is relying upon your elected officials. You can have a city declaration, you can have a county declaration. The size of the impact is what makes that determination. The consequences, and who's at risk, and how that actually impacts the community operations at large. So that's pretty much how things roll through from an incident and how our role actually works into that. I could sit here and put together a PowerPoint presentation, take you down through all the executive orders, the presidential directive, the code of federal regulations, and all of that, but it would just bore you. It bores me because there's not enough pictures out there. And I used to work with Don years ago, so he knows I need that color to maintain my focus. So what I want to do now is turn it back to you. If there's questions you have specifically that I can address, I'd like to do that.
Well, I kind of feel like if there's that much of an emergency, there's gonna be so many people in need that the only ones we're gonna be able to depend on is ourselves.
Yeah, to a certain extent, and it's going to depend upon what the circumstances and what the issue is. A lot of the times, emergencies may happen like this, and then we have those ones that are slow and encroaching. So like the flooding potentials from off the Portland, we know it takes time to get there, so we have time to make the decisions on what we need to implement. But at the same time, as we start moving forward and we're watching those things, it's important that everybody gets those updates and notifications who may be impacted. So who would be our priority people to be impacted first for a flooding situation? The people that's going to be hit first. So we try to focus on those, make our priorities, make those updates, notifications being sent, and then at the same time we do community-wide, so everybody's aware. Because I'm more apt to be the one that says, hey, we've got this potential coming on. I want everybody to know because of those resources and those needs. Everybody needs to be aware of the potentials and the timeliness and the potential impacts. And if you guys have how many of you are working on a map your neighborhood process? I know the church has done that in different areas, in which you make notifications and coordination with your neighbors and then identify the resources that's available. I strongly support that and want that to be one of the things that's implemented and maintained.
And the needs.
Pardon me?
And the personal needs, whether they're on oxygen or whether they need help walking or if they, you know.
There's a whole list of things that can be incorporated into that, so that's best that the communities can do that, because a lot of the times to get the resources that you need, it's not gonna happen.
So, just talking about myself, who do I call? Who's my first way to call? Do I call my mayor? Do I call my neighbor? Do I call the police? I don't have your number. Who do I call? But I've got an emergency.
Under what circumstance?
I don't know what it will be until it happens.
So normally what happens, if you've got incidents that you have to take care of at your house, you're gonna call that service provider. If it's an electrical issue,
Like a plumber, an
a plumber,
electrician,
or
okay.
those types of things. If it's an emergency type event in which you need public services or public safety, which is law, fire, you go through dispatch. You dial 911, and that's how that started.
Thank you. Just to know.
Yes.
I didn't catch your last name.
Jones,
Oh, that's a hard one. Okay, thank you.
and it is a legit name. It's not an alias. The witness relocation program didn't work for me, so. Question over here?
I think the thing that you have to do in your own family, whether there's two of you or a whole passel of kids with you, is look at the different threats that you might have in your area and make a plan. Like if there is a bad storm, one of the incidents that we had, then the kids were going to leave the school early because the storm surprised the area. But we were fortunate to have a plan that all the kids would get on the bus and come back. And there was all these kids talking about, well, you come to my house because I'm in walking distance and all that, but we had a plan ahead of time. And if there's a fire, we have a place that we're going to meet. If there is a big emergency, then we have a place where we're going to meet. It's having a personal plan and then move out from there to other needs that you need to bring in on your team to deal with the
Absolutely.
personal emergency.
Absolutely, and make sure you have a plan in place, and that's why we've put together the Family Emergency Preparedness Guides. And in there, some good information for various assortment of emergencies. There's even sections in there for the pandemic. There's a lot of good information in there. The other handout we provided is for wildfires. With the wildfires, we've implemented Ready, Set, Go, which is 1, 2, 3. So the early notifications and the process to make that happen, so we get people notified and out of the area as necessary. And what we try to do is use a standardized approach with Survey 1, 2, 3, with Ready, Set, Go. And that's why we provide that information. And we can make this available to you guys if you get more people. And Karen's gonna go over a lot of the different handouts and things that we have for preparedness fairs and safety fairs and special events and everything else. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Not a question, but more of a comment. In case of emergency, if you can run scenarios through your mind ahead of time, what if this happened? What would I do? Get it planned out, because honest to Pete, there's so much panic for people who have prepared nothing, and you're gonna be contacted because they know, oh, you know, so-and-so knows something, I'm gonna get hold of them. So you need, like Carla said, you need to have this in your head, run through 100 times, you need to have your 72-hour kit within throwing range of your car to throw it in, you need to figure out what to do with your pets if you can't take them with you, all that stuff. I mean, it's different if maybe it's a 48-hour emergency or if it's a 3-month emergency, what
True.
plays into place. So just don't think it's not gonna happen.
That's very true. And that planning is critical, and the thing is, everybody needs to know. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'll be here for a while, and you know, we do these for free. I appreciate the eggs being brought in for this class, but those are necessary.
$100 for the eggs.
Okay, Karen?
Oh, I was just gonna say, you have an office here in town?
We do.
Okay.
We're 5500 South Fifth out at the Public Works compound.
Oh, okay.
So you
Okay.
can, if you
Oh,
want
I
to come in,
didn't-
check it out.
I didn't know where you
Where
were
we're
located.
located.
Yeah.
It's a small cave.
Well, I'm sure, yeah.
We let Karen come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Oh, good.
We make things work.
And then on Mondays, it's, you see, I come out with my supervisor. Just kidding. Hey, everybody, go ahead and look on your green book. This is called Alert Sense, and you can sign up 3 different ways. So if you know how to do a QR code, that's fine. If that's harder, there's a text where you just put in those 5 numbers and then put the word join. It's a single one time you hook up to it. And then if something happens in your area or where your cell phone is, you will get notified of actions to take. You're not gonna get random spam information. We don't sell any of it. We're just lucky to have you in there. And we're shooting for 5,000. We're super close to the 5,000 number, so if you can go around and tell people to get signed up, that'd be great. Take it back to your families. But like I said, you've got it on your green book. And if you could actually do that now, I'll wait for you for a second while I get some more things started. If you can just sign into Alert Sense. It's just a simple text or scan.
Is this just for Bannock County?
Just as Bannock County. And truly, anybody that comes into the area can get it. So other people can be signed up to it, but they'd only get notifications if they're in the right space, right time to be warned of an emergency.
Can I say something really quick while they're doing that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so, my husband is the high council over in the superintendent in the central state.
Little louder.
And, the LDS Church works hand in hand with these types of officials, to help get the word out to the members and then the members to the neighbors and stuff like that. So, we're not just relying on him, he's the boss, but he works through other people to help us spread the word. And your state is supposed to have emergency plans put in place. So, I just kinda that was just for information only.
Well, and along those lines, so hopefully the camera picked all of that
I don't know how to get in and out of them.
up. I'll help you in 2 seconds. So there should be emergency plans in the stakes. And truly, if we could get the emergency planners to actually contact us and say, hey, by the way, this is our plan, just FYI. So in case they're not available and we need to reach that group of people, it'd be good to have that information. Okay, so she's doing great. She's getting all signed in. There you go. All right, so I wanted to walk through this really quick, and it's really simple. What we're gonna do is let's assume there's a house fire. Now, in your home, there's a house fire. It starts where you know it's happening, you're there, and you need to get out. Think through your mind. 1, who else getting out with you? Who do you have there? 2, how fast can you grab your shoes, flashlight, your kit? And then how about your pets? Are you ready for them to get going, to go out? Do you have a simple bag and grab that would hold their meds or their food, or a list of what the medications? How about medications for you guys? Do you have that kind of list or electronic format somewhere? So you get out and then you need to go meet somewhere, but we're gonna just stop there where you need to get out fast and you're home. Now what if you need to get out fast and you're not home and your house burns? Do you have your important documents scanned somewhere up on the cloud? Your marriage license, your driver's license, a copy of your insurance card? Do you have that somewhere where you can get to it? Your passwords. Did your passwords just burn up beside your computer? Fair question, don't answer out loud. You don't wanna know. But you need to know where your passwords are. If you don't have your passwords, I can sign into the bank anytime if I'm at my desk by my password. Kind of think that through of like, what would happen if your home was destroyed? The next thing is, what about a wildfire? Let's say, when was the last fire? Charlotte fire? Was that? The Charlotte fire was.
No, we've had a couple, we average at least 2 wildfires a year.
Yeah. And some of them are pretty scary and we gotta go. Are you able to gather your things, get them in the car? Just, those are the kind of scenarios, because she was like, okay, who do I call? Well, in that scenario, you can simply call 911 and say, I'm worried there's a fire coming, and they'll immediately tell you get out. Or hopefully you dial the direct dial number. Either way, 911 is best. If you don't know where you are, dial 911. That's just as a dispatcher. Please if you don't know where you are, we don't either. Call 911 and 911 brings in your longitude, latitude, so we can at least have a chance to find you, just FYI. Okay, so we have a simple go kit that we put together, and in it is some food. And this is paper. We haven't even opened this up. We don't know how exciting this is, but it's supposed to be 3 days worth of food. I think for just one person, but it's for one.
Do you sell all of this stuff?
We don't sell it. This is all beautiful Amazon food. Do like we do. Go on Amazon. Then a really good first aid kit. I really like this one. It has a heat pad. It's just beautiful. There's hundreds of items, hundreds of different medications, bandages, whatever, in a simple, compact, ready to go. And I don't know if you just saw me unpack this. This is all in there, and there's tons of room for more things. So if you keep them simple and contained, you can add more things. Next is a hygiene kit. This has shampoo, razor, toothbrush, floss. And again, hygiene kits are fabulous. You really need them. This one also has napkins, or hankies, and a perspirant. And then this is kind of fun. I found this on Amazon, and I talked to Wes into like, these are cool. We should have these in the kits. So in here, this is amazing. It's a toolkit, and it has so many things. It also added on the word fishing, but I don't think there's any fishing gear in here. But I love that part. You know, a spork's lovely, but don't you ever have to cut anything? So that's super cool. It's inside of a thing. And just watch. This will be the moment I actually cut myself. But there's a spork. And then a regular knife and some tools. Here's a handheld chainsaw in case you just can't break a specific size of twig. It's a handheld. This will hurt unless you have gloves. Wear gloves. Anyway, so tons of cool things in the toolbox. And again, Amazon. Just look up men's toolkit or something similar. This is a sleeping bag. This is a Mylar sleeping bag. I'm not going to pull it all the way out because I'll never get it back in. But it's a Mylar. Inside is the gray Mylar metal, the very thin metal that doesn't really tear. They've tried. It does well. But a sleeping bag. And then, of course, the Mylar blankets. Now, I didn't bring the one I usually demo with. Have you guys seen Mylar blankets? And you're like, what's the point of this? Well, at ISU, I did it fair. And I pulled one out and I wrapped it around this lady because she's just like, even with her coat on, she's just shivering all the way through. I said, put this on and do a demo for me. So she put it on and she's like, hey, I'm already warm. And I said, yes. Now here's the trick. You need to have airspace around you because you're creating heat and it needs to hit the metal and come back to you. So you're gonna warm up super fast. If you can do the metal, keep some space. Don't hold it up tight. You know, you wanna do that, like with a robe, you wanna like cuddle in close. But with these metal sheets, you give just a little bit of space and it makes it heat up really fast. She brought it back like 3 minutes later. Okay, I'm too hot now. I'm like, ta-da. That's what you do. You gotta get warm. So so the major things not in here is a water filtration device, right? How long can you live without?
3 days.
Water is 3 days. Food, 3 weeks. Does it go bigger?
Yeah.
And then, wow, not that I'm worried about 3 weeks without it. But anyway, so you have to have that water.
That's only if you have water that you can live without food. for
This is
3
true.
days.
You have to have water. That's your primary. So you need shelter. So we have some shelter items, some tools, some medical, some hygiene, some food. We don't have a water filtration device in here. Now, have you all heard of Life Straw or Seychelles? Seychelles, the LDS Church would send Seychelles filtrations to the third world country missionaries and make sure they use those, just so they weren't constantly getting sick. How about Sawyer? Has anybody heard of the Sawyer? So they're really cheap, and they sell you kits for a 5-gallon bucket on Amazon for cheap. I'm talking less than $50. And it's a full kit, and you attach it to the bottom of a 5-gallon, put it under a rain spout, collect the water, and as it comes out, it's already purified and you can drink it. Because it's a 1-million-gallon filter. And there's information on it, and it's Sawyer, S-A-W-Y-E-R. Does anybody have questions on those filtration devices?
Well, the Story House here sells filtration.
Do you know a brand or a name?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I know, and they come with a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like Seychelles, S-E-Y-C-H-E-L-L-E.
S-E-Y.
I can't remember.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, I know they sell them.
They don't have them anymore.
Oh, they don't have them anymore?
They don't have
Okay,
them
they may not have them, but Amazon does.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay. Sawyer, and then what did I say? A live
A live
straw.
straw.
Those you can even buy at Walmart.
Yes, and there's fake ones too, so just watch for that. What you're looking for on a filtration device is the more nines behind the dot. So if it says it will filtrate out to 999, no, go better, go better. Go as many nines as you can, because you see, I don't know if you know numbers or math, this is way better than that. So if you're gonna look for them online, watch for the 999s. You need a bunch of them. And like I said, with Sawyer, they claim they're $1 million filter. They may have changed it because somebody tried to probably check it for them. But they are a backwash, so if the filter gets dirty, you backwash it, clear it out, and then restart, and it works quite well. Seychelles usually inside a bottle, Life Straw is usually a single sucking water, dirty stuff.
And you can use that right from the stream, right? The live
You are supposed to, yes, you are supposed to be able to do that. Okay, so some of the things we brought. Now, we only brought you copies of our our Ready, Set, Go tablet and this. But this, is there any way you guys can commit to having people sign up? Anybody in your household even? Because if you guys are separated and you're the only one that got notified and you weren't home, can you guys commit to seeing about getting this set up? Because we're trying to decide if we need to have a contest or something with South Bannock. Do we need a contest? So next, in here, there's tons of things like, if you look through it, I don't know if you have, there's Children in Disaster, where you can sign up. Who all has nothing written down at home with phone numbers on it? Because your phone is now your computer.
Oh, could I make a comment about that?
Yeah.
As part of my emergency preparedness, at the end of the year, I print off my Outlook database.
Nice.
And I have it all, and I just stick it in my Keepaway kit, but I got all the numbers, because I've had it happen where I lose cell phone service for whatever reason, but I need to call somebody, and I've got all the numbers in my Keepaway kit.
That's great. That is great. And did everybody hear that, where she prints out her Outlook database, her Outlook contacts? What I've done is, I did one of these for our home, and I also made sure my siblings' phone numbers.
What page is that?
17 and 18, it's two-sided. But I've got this, I actually printed this all out, mine, and we have it on the fridge. And I actually have 3 copies in case the kids gotta grab one and go, because they need to have some kind of information how to find people and the relatives. Now, often with emergency communications, so imagine if the cell tower gets bugged down here. Did you guys know that when you text, it's a packet of information that will keep going until it finds where it's supposed to go? Were you guys aware of that? So if you can't get a phone call through, and you're like, I've gotta go, do a text to somebody out of state, out of country, or, like my brother in Eagle is my emergency contact, because he's that far away, but he was my emergency contact when I was in Washington and we were worried about those fakes. He's still my emergency contact, and my kids know how to reach my brother. But if you text, that message will keep going until their phone turns back on, until they can get that message. So it wanders around in la la land till it's answered. Because on packets of information, there's a front and a back. And the front says go here, and the back says it's from you. And it'll keep going until it gets to that front spot. So it'll just circle until it gets there. So because, and to point out, have you ever gone on an airplane trip and you went into airplane mode, and you were all fine and dandy, you drop off in Denver, you turn your phone off and blows up? Packets were finally able to be received. Those packets of text were all boom, and you're like, 17 people in 1 minute, I don't even believe it. Those packets of information were circling, waiting for you to turn your phone on. And that's just how it works. So, all right. Where are we at? Okay, we're doing good on time. We talked about what would you do in a wildfire, what would you do in a house fire. Are there questions or thoughts on that? What's another item here in here in Southeast Idaho that we'd be worried about, that we'd have to respond, bunker down?
I was gonna say the snowstorm last March.
Yeah.
Snow all day, we didn't have electricity.
Yes. That was March 1st.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
And there was limbs falling down,
Yes.
and yeah.
And all the power lines were coming
All
down.
the power lines, yeah.
Yeah, I think right after that I talked to the Senior Citizen Center, but maybe the year before, when down in Truckee, California, for 2 weeks they were packed in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks they couldn't get out. And that was a question for them. Okay, imagine for the next 2 weeks, you cannot leave, you're gonna go home. You can't go and no one can come in. What are you gonna run out of?
Water.
Water.
Maybe water. What about bread? What about eggs? Well, eggs, we're already all out. Except for that one lady.
I have chickens.
Yeah.
And I paid my tithing Sunday, and let me tell you, I had eggs yesterday. I'm feeling rich.
Well, she walked in with 2 dozen. I'm like, okay, everybody, no stealing, no mugging. So yeah, so the question is, okay, if you couldn't leave your home for 2 weeks, is anybody else, any other thoughts besides water? Yeah.
We were talking about medication.
Yes.
You can't get
Yeah.
medications through insurance more than.
You can if your doctor contacts them. Your doctor has to personally call them, but you can get it if your doctor will do that for you. And it can't be the nurse, it has to be the doctor.
Like diabetic, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think medication is just in our family, I'm like, yeah, but they
Right.
don't want you to get them more than a month. Okay, but if you can.
Or you get the Amish catalog and learn how to formulate the natural stuff yourself, which substitutes for all the chemical crap that they're feeding us.
If you listen to Glenn Beck, he talks about the Jace case a whole lot. And that includes medical supplies and stuff like that.
Okay. Did you guys hear that? He's a Jace case in regarding Glenn Beck. So if you Google those 2 words together, I'm sure you'll find what he's referring to. Yes.
This works for slackers that don't take their medicine every day. Get on
You
the,
already have some.
well, get on the auto refill, and then
Yes.
when it comes, get it, and then you've got it. So you've always got several days or a week or a month or.
And I really second that because I'm one of those lazy people that not always get my meds in on the right day. My meds, I sound serious.
Yeah, create
I take a ton of
backstorage.
vitamins.
Seriously, that's what you have to do. You
Yeah,
have to
that is-
slowly create a back storage.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to create your own back storage and you have to find ways to do it. So, any other comments? Awesome, okay. So, how simple would it be to do this? A little hygiene kit, it's got a little shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrush, some lotion. Kind of simple, yeah?
Mhm.
Right? Simple enough?
In your first aid kit, you want a needle and thread. If you, I mean, how
Or
long
a
does it
little
take?
sewing kit.
Well, that works too.
Because at the
How long
dollar
does it
store,
take to
for
slither out,
$1.25
you know, sometimes
store.
without a needle, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
the
you
dollar
just stitch
24.
somebody out.
And a pair of
scissors. Yeah,
The $1.25 store has all kinds of cute little kits.
yeah.
Oh, and speaking of $1.25 store, I love them. If you're ever doing a medical kit at home, okay, I'll tell the cute little story. My daughter was 10 and she fell at school, and she's a blenophobe, and no, I don't know the right word.
Hemophilia.
What is it?
Somebody bleeds, doesn't clot. Yeah.
Oh, not
Oh,
hemophilic.
I'm sorry.
No, afraid of blood.
Oh,
A
okay.
blood
Afraid.
Mm.
It's called Mike Hoskins.
I'm just kidding. It's called every other person I know. But my daughter was just so serious about it. And anyway, so what I found out after I took her home was she had one sock that was red, one sock white. I didn't think anything of it. She had a Band-Aid on her knee, no big deal. I get home, I open that bandage up, and I did not faint. I was so proud of myself. The asphalt had ripped her open, and she needed to have the wound debris. Like, it was a mess. And she thankfully was looking away. Anyway, 11 stitches later, what I decided was I'm going to keep track of everything I used to keep her until she was healed. And I went through a lot more bandages and things because every day a 4x4, every day the tape, every day, every day you need a triple antibiotic. And when you do that for one fairly minor wound, she continued with her life. She just had me take care of, every day we cleaned it up. Imagine in a disaster, you have just a simple wound. There's no need to go to the emergency room, but now you have to take care of it. You have those supplies. Have you ever put together a medical kit for even one wound, or 2 wounds, or 3 wounds? It's just something to be thinking about, like, oh. And because I came up with that, I went off on that tangent, is because at the $1.25 store, if you go down, they have a little medical section, and they've got all kinds of little things that are in small packs. You can make your own OTC kit, over-the-counter med kit, with some antidiuretics, there's Tylenol, there's Advil, there's premenstrual meds, we get, the allergy meds, loratadine, which is Claritin. So Claritin's, base name is loratadine. They sell them there for 10 pills for $1. It's loratadine, it's, what I just said, another word. Anyway, there's all kinds of other things you can get that you don't even realize they have. And they also had emergency candles at one point, and they were an 8-pack of candles that didn't blow out very easily. They were kind of nice. Yeah, I went through there and got a few things just, I was like, oh look, the sex selection's different this week. This is kind of nice. Anyway, there's all kinds of kits you can make, and there's things to think about ahead of time. You don't know what's gonna happen, and if you can think of, okay, this scenario or that scenario, if you were prepared fully for a wildfire and the need to evacuate, if you're fully prepared, you're at least 80% prepared for anything else that can come up. So you don't have to feel super overwhelmed. Choose one thing to prepare for. Can you think of one thing that might happen near you? And if you can get your family ready, you ready, it's a sense of peace to know you're ready, right? And my journey started a long time ago when my kids were little, back in 08. No, before that. In 05, I went through CERT because I got a postcard that said, do you want to be ready? Do you want to help your neighbors? Come to this. And so I showed up. I had my husband handle the kids, and every Thursday for 6 weeks, I went to this course and I got trained. And I felt so much better about life. I had more skills. I could defend my family. I could help my neighbors. And we don't need to be helpless. In this crazy world right now where everybody's so upset about everything, we don't have to be helpless. We have so many skills behind us that we don't even realize. We have resilience, we have patience, we have understanding. And it's something that we can move forward with and learn more of. And I just feel like being able to take care of yourself and your family helps you. So anyway, that's what I came to tell you about. Are there any other questions?
One thing that I found out when I was getting my preparedness done was I went on Amazon and I found these little towelettes that were compressed towelettes.
Yes.
And you put a tablespoon of water and they get
And there was
this
a
big.
normal hand towel, yes.
And I have got those. I bought me a box of 5,000 and I've got those in all my emergency kits
Nice.
for washing, for anything.
Yeah.
And
They can be
I've got-
reusable paper towels.
And you can put them in one of those little Sucret boxes. And they are super, yeah.
And at the dollar store, they have a
They use it to
Well,
giant
I-
for
plug it
self-wash.
to
It's just like, this is so cool. Because now all of my kids have these towelettes
Yeah.
so that I can have something for my body. I can use them for
Yeah.
anything.
Yes, anything.
Washing off wounds.
Yes.
And then for soap, instead of using a bar of soap, I have 5 pounds of them. Anyway, they're called soap nuts.
Okay.
And you get them from, I ordered them and they're grown in the Himalayan mountains. And it's a tree that produces these nuts. And it's called soap nuts.
Okay.
And
Great,
they
soap nuts.
are amazing. 2 of them, if you boil them in water, will make you a quart of soap.
And is it just a liquid soap that you can then
It's
kind of
just,
push?
you boil it in water and you can reuse them.
Okay.
And they're just soap
Wow.
nuts, and you can put 1 soap nut in your washing machine and it'll clean your clothes.
Wow, I've never heard of soap nuts.
Anyway, and then
That's kinda
also if you have English ivy,
Uh-huh.
English ivy produces its own soap. The
English ivy
leaves
plant.
of the English ivy.
English ivy.
You can also boil the English ivy leaves and you will have soap.
Wow, that's information we gotta
It's
look
just
into.
something that I have in my knowledge
I
kit.
said it wrong. Okay, there was other questions? Yes.
So I'm a nurse and I have quite an extensive first clotting materials. So when you end up with a wound that you just can't, with pressure and everything else, get to stop bleeding, you can put combat gauze on it and it will stop that. If you've got a gunshot wound, you just cram that stuff down the hole.
Yeah. And then you've heard with stabbings and gunshot wounds, put a tampon in and it'll expand and clot, like, not as if you're gonna have one
But
right
people
on.
my age don't often treat.
Exactly. Go.
People of our age still need to carry tampons and sanitary napkins. How absorbent are they, especially for compress? Yeah, so don't think you don't need them. You might not need them for what you started out needing for, but you need them.
And then last year, we had, Miss Taysom here, she's a nurse that travels, and she talked about Stop the Bleed courses. There's Stop the Bleed courses all the time, and that's something, that, again, it's a 4-hour course at the most. You guys will probably think it's just common knowledge, but if you can go and get certified, it's just something else. You've got this little certification, you feel a little more empowered because you know for sure that you know what you're saying. Because most of you can probably do a first aid. Could you guys do CPR compressions? Do you feel like you had them right even though you're not currently certified? But at one point you were certified and you learned the technique? Well, one, I challenge you to go get recertified. Like, there's always new techniques. It's amazing. They're always developing new ways.
Where are these classes?
So somebody mentioned New Knowledge Adventures. I know that they try to hold,
They offer them up at Portneuf too.
and they offer them at Portneuf, at the hospital?
It's one of those side buildings
Okay.
from the hospital where they have learning classes and stuff.
Is there any way we can get some links back to her to put on the webpage of like, hey, here's some links? Because I know she's gonna be posting this on Facebook and people that work here, so if that can happen, then.
I was just gonna ask, my husband and I are going through our food storage, and as our family's growing, we're trying to figure out how much food storage is actually equal to a year.
Yeah.
And is there a list or something?
Yes.
that- Okay.
Go to providentliving.org,
Okay.
and that's gonna be you can do a calculator on there. You can also do, write it down. Okay, up here. And it's the church website, and you're gonna put your information in, you can look for, just look it up. Should be able to find it in there. Talking on living. I know, yeah. What are you guys, what are you seeing? What?
No, it's good.
No, it's good.
Okay. All right, any other questions back there? Yes.
I just wondered, what was the name of those gauzes you were talking about?
Oh,
Is
the
this
combat gauze, or the?
Or the little towelettes.
Oh, the
Little
towel,
towelettes.
they're really just compressed towels. Do Amazon search compressed towels.
Compressed towels, okay, I just wondered if she has like a name.
They look like 6 or 7 neckles
No, you
stacked
can-
together.
You can get
They're about that
so- just compressed towels, and they really are tiny, and you touch them with water and they expand, and poof.
They're like the
About
ones
that
you get
big.
at the dollar store. that
Yeah, the
you just-
dollar store has plenty, and you can get them in
Princess.
princess.
So I
Take
have,
out little kids.
I have a question about the soap nuts. Do you use those every day, or do you just only have them in your emergency kit?
Okay, so that's.
Beth, do you use soap nuts every day? Or just for emergency?
Just for emergency. There for a while, I did them every day because of my allergies towards laundry soap.
Yeah.
But I have a jar in my fridge of soap I use
Mm.
Oh,
just for my personal,
Doesn't mold.
for my personal clothes
Mhm.
because I have allergies towards laundry detergent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they clean your clothes, it's great. Makes them fluffy.
That's awesome. All right,
No
so-
additives in it, it's just pure 100%.
That's
Do you
awesome.
mind leaving your stuff out so you can go up and just take a
Yeah,
picture?
we can do that, and we can put it on the Facebook, we'll do it on, are you guys all attached to Facebook, and that's how you know about this? Right? Yes. Okay, so my last plug is, not only do we wanna make sure you're signed up with AlertSense, then we wanna challenge you to get other people signed up with AlertSense.
Yeah.
But, do you know of any emergency preparedness fairs coming up this year? Good answer. Okay, so we would love to come, we'd love to help. We know of a few, like if you need snacks, Giovanni does.
Yogurt, no, got them last year.
Good.
Ours is planned for September 27th. It's on a Saturday.
Is this the Allen tell me don't.
Yes.
Okay, good, I'm glad it's on the schedule already, I will put it on the calendar.
Thank you.
And say it again, September
Pardon me?
27th?
Saturday, September 27th. We think we're gonna do it from 10 to 4.
Alameda. And are we doing classes this time, so presentations?
There will be some classes, mostly demonstrations, but hopefully, if things go the way they're planned. We're gonna have the parking lot that the city's been messing with forever.
Yeah.
That should be asphalted
Okay.
by then, and there'll be a passage walkway between the state and there, so we can have other vendors that can come and show things. So we can't sell anything
An
on your
outdoor
property.
one, yeah.
So that's hopefully
With
what we're looking
tents
for.
and stuff, that's awesome. Okay. And then we were just notified about One Year Tidy, I'll have to get more details, but that's a June 14th. If we wanna get that advertised, I'll let them know. Okay, all right, any other questions? Cause I'm gonna turn back to Wes and see if he has more.
I have one other question. So on your backpacks, basically every person in your household has to have one, right?
Okay, this is true and I didn't address that. You each need to have one. What if you have to separate or what if you don't get back to the house all at the same time? Everybody needs their own and they need to be able to carry it. And it'd be nice if they knew what was inside and how to use it. Yes.
And if they've grown since you first started, you need to do.
Yes, for years it was like every 6 months. Hey, what happens every 6 months?
Conference.
Annual conference, that's when you pull it out, live on it for the weekend, if you don't do the cinnamon rolls on Saturday morning. And then, you all know that, don't you? Okay, and then check through for, and remember, you're gonna have your underwear, some socks, you need a changeable. A clean shirt would be great, but just have stuff in here that you can change out. You use them for Band-Aids if you have to. You can use them for warming. You can put socks on your hands if you can't find gloves. Think through what can be a multi-use item in your bag. But, yes.
Sorry, too many things here.
You're good.
No, on your clothing, I mean, everybody's gonna think, pack a pair of jeans or sweats.
Yeah.
Okay, sweats are okay. Jeans not so much. You can't wear those inside out very comfortably. Scrubs are wonderful.
There
You
you
can
go.
put a thin t-shirt on underneath them, and you can turn them inside out and wear them more than 2 or 3 times if you need to.
All right, scrubs are an idea
And they're
too.
small to pack.
And guess what? They're at Goodwill's and Desert Industries. You can find simple clothes.
There's another thing that I have in my emergency kit is, I made them triangle bandages. I mean,
I remember when there was a campaign to make them and it's just cotton
it's just
pulled
a
in
piece of
half.
fabric and I just made
For
a
elbows.
triangle band, and I
Yes.
made several of them.
Yes,
And I'm just going, okay.
yes.
Something that we put in each of the backpacks, we had a book like this from the Salvation Army that was like an emergency book. But then we also made a copy of our ward list. Back then you used to get all the copies, you know? We
Yes.
put a copy of the ward list in every
That's
bag
awesome.
with the emergency book and then the contacts for
Yeah.
our family.
And that's totally taking care of your family and your neighbors all at the same
Yeah.
time because these are people that
Yeah.
live around you. That's fabulous.
Scout handbook.
The scout handbook, and in that, you've got how to start a fire, how to take care of, yeah, how to do field triage and stop bleeding, and how to bandage things. Yes, it's great. And there's several, if you wanna go for Old Navy books that show how to filter water with a 5-gallon bucket and charcoal and all the things. Haven't read mine lately, so, but I have it, I have one.
Yeah, if you need it.
Yeah.
I mean, this one has the family emergency information, so if you put one of these in each of your backpacks,
Yes.
you'd have all this information too.
And anything larger that you need to carry, a good idea is a handled, large, insulated, with wheels on the other side, so that you can drag along easily. If you get a child that is tired of walking, it can serve as a table, it can serve as, sit down because we're too tired to walk anymore for a while.
So
You know,
kinda like a hard case suitcase, is what
yes.
you're thinking,
Uh-huh.
or a cooler almost,
Yeah,
something that's a little more firm. Well, and then I've seen people that put them in a 5-gallon bucket because you can sit on those,
Right.
yeah,
You can
but it's a bucket and it's not,
poop in them.
yeah.
those are super nice to put in your trunk, you can line up your,
Well, and even
5-gallon
some
buckets.
luggage, if it's got wheels on it,
Yeah.
for each of the kids, or whatever. But, to have some place to actually sit down or whatever is convenient for old people and youngers. that
Well, and they do
can't
have
walk.
backpacks that have wheels.
Yes, there are.
That's true.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of options that could work for,
A small shovel, she said.
Yeah, there's little
Made.
shovels, yeah, you can seriously, you need to, like, do you want the shovel in your little kid's, your 5-year-old's backpack? No, but your dads, the husbands, somebody who's gonna be able to help them, yeah, sure, back, that over here. In here, I showed you that there was a handheld chainsaw. There's bigger, more sturdy ones.
Yeah, that's.
And honestly, if it comes, something comes down, you've gotta get through. It's not
Or you
ideal.
need it for
It's gonna hurt.
firewood, I mean, you never know.
Yeah. There was one more? Yes.
Yeah, my sister's retired now, but she worked for the state of Utah, both her and her husband. And he was talking about, you know, notifying family with text or whatever. Once a year, they had an emergency drill. And they had to text or phone somebody out of state.
Yes.
So I was her contact, so once a year, I got this text, we're having our drill, I am fine. You know, but in case of emergency, we knew that she could contact me and that, you know, I could spread the word to the family or whatever needed to be done, but she'd always say, this is a drill, I am fine.
And that is really great, and that's great to have, that's absolutely a great takeaway, is to make sure you actually practice these things with your family, who you're gonna respond to, who's expecting a call from you, it'd be great to know, because other people are gonna be reaching the same out of contact, other people knew her number, and they also would be like, hey, have you heard from her? They just wanna know that that is working, so practice. Anyway, Wes, if you wanna finish up, what else?
Sure, I could do that.
Okay.
Just by a show of hands, how many people are familiar with the local emergency planning committees? Just one?
Well, what do they entail?
I was kinda hoping Karen would raise her hand, but.
Oh, sorry.
You might spend more time with her evidently. So what we have by law is a local emergency planning committee. That's set up in order to have all the public safety departments, the school districts, public health departments, all those service-oriented providers to come together to talk about things that we need to address, like areas of improvement, things that went well, things we need to improve upon, those types of things. So with that LEPC, so if you signed up on that attendance sheet, did everybody sign up on the attendance sheet? If you put your email information in there, we're gonna be providing you with information on the LEPC. So the things that we track is potential weather conditions, weather status, sandbagging operations, wildfire outlook. As those things come in, I provide that to the community and the members that signed up for that. When we have the meetings, we bring in local law enforcement, the fire departments, and everybody else. I want to have more members from the community attend those as well. And the reason for that is too many times public safety departments don't interface with the community. And if they have more of that interface in advance, that just makes for a smoother coordination and implementation of response protocols. So with that LEPC, so a lot of you may not have known what you were checking or not checking, but that's why we put that on the roster for the attendance sheet. How many in here are ham radio operators? One,
My husband is.
two,
My husband.
three? Okay, so the other thing that we try to do is find out where the ham radio operators are, so we can get them coordinated and implemented as well. There's a lot of different ways we can communicate across the United States, but if something goes wrong with one of the systems, we need to have that built-in redundancy to make sure things work. And worst case scenario, we can always go by word of mouth, if we know which areas, who to contact, and who to talk to. So that's why it's important for you guys, when you do your map, your neighborhood, I can go back to the church and say, this is what's going on. If all these other things fall short, we can still implement and provide coordination, communication going out as well as coming in. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
On that implementation of your mapping the neighborhoods, as a ward, we did this, we just sent out a list to everybody of things that they might have in their house that would be useful to share. A chainsaw, rubber band, a fold-up ladder, whatever you might need, hoses. And we had them fill that out. They were very not wanting to do that, and we made positive comment to them that only people that will know what's on this list and who listed it is myself and our bishop. And then I made a master copy of who all has chainsaws, who all has extra hoses, who can do this service. and we have that on file, locked. But if we need it, we've got it, and we know who to contact.
Right.
But sometimes they're very not wanting to share anything, they don't want people to know what they have. And we're not after it for the reason to come get it, we're after it, would you be willing to let us use those things?
Yeah, that's true, that's a good point, and then the more you know, the more beneficial it's gonna be, but
Who's a nurse?
there's always that reluctancy,
Yeah.
and you can't force people to do the things that you need. I'll tell Karen I'm not in the office today, I'm taking off, and I'll shut the lights off in the office, and inevitably, she's gonna be standing there at the door, looking through that glass window at me. I see you. No, I'm not here. Yeah, so there's always that reluctance to engage, but so it's important to share the reasons why we do the things that we do, and then the security protocols that you have in place. The other thing that we do is we put together a lot of information for preparedness fairs, other activities that you may have. So we've got a lot of coloring books that we hand out and we share with the community. And you can take these and you can put them in your 72-hour kits for your kids or whatever you have. And that's why we like to provide these. We also put together another guide with the Bannock County Sheriff's Office, and we work together with them. And then there's another one that we work on in preserving your identity, your self-identity. And because a lot of the corrupt individuals out there on the internet and everything else, you're always susceptible to identity theft. And then there's things in here in regard to follow through on for cybersecurity, for personal and home. Okay, so I think that's about it. Really appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk with everybody, and more than anything, if you'd like us to have us come back again, quarterly or whatever, we'd follow up for that. Yes, ma'am.
Those wonderful books, you just kind of gave us some ideas, where do we get them?
We have them.
Today?
Do you want to?
We've got some of them, yeah.
Sure.
We don't have
Especially
boxes with them today, but we get you as many as you need. Because I'd much rather spend our money to purchase these things instead of you having to pay out of pocket. Yeah, so just give us a shout, and you can come in and pick them up, or
And you said that was 550 South 5th Street?
So you'd be willing to go to the different stakes, even, like in a Relief Society activity, you would come and share your information, Karen?
I will,
Okay,
if he's busy,
okay.
I will.
And how do we get a hold of you?
Ask Wes if I'm available.
Oh.
So kidding, here's mine. Phone number. So my name was misspelled in the flyer, but it's the same as his. It's-
here's some business cards. I've really moved up in 2025. In 2024, they only allowed me those little yellow sticky pads and so.
Anyway, thank you,
All
Karen.
right, if there's no other questions, we'll,
That's good.
and yeah, we can get this to you guys too. Yeah, I can text it.
Huh?
All right, well, thank you so much for coming, everybody.